Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our second Cabral HouseCall of the weekend, answering more of our community's questions. Love being able to join you on these weekend shows. Pretty relaxed from my perspective. Right now, sitting in a nice, comfortable chair in my new office and opening up that giant Ask Cabral document, looking at all of the essentially thousands of questions that have come in, scrolling to today's topics. So yesterday, hopefully you did tune into the show. That was episode 1667, I believe. Let's just confirm that. It was 1667, and today, if you want to read along with the questions, you can head on over to stephencabral.com/1668. So we are going to be going over another half a dozen or so questions, sometimes more. I try to never make it less. I try to just give a couple minutes per question. Basically, read the question, no notes, no prep, as if you were approaching me at a seminar, which happens quite often, asking a health-based question, or whether, we were just bump into each other, you had a question, we were out to dinner, and I'm simply giving you my knowledge set based on being in clinical practice for many number of years and working with many tens and hundreds of thousands of people. So that is the goal. The goal is to give you another alternative, a second opinion as to where you may not be looking in terms of the answer that you seek, as well as maybe what's gone wrong to this point. So again, I hope that this is helpful. That is the goal, trying to do as best as I can to help as many people as possible, since I know for sure I simply wouldn't be able to be in contact with this many people in a private practice. So that allows me to reach more people on the podcast on a daily basis. But then, of course, with our Cabral House Calls. So, without further ado, let's answer some questions. First question coming in today is from Kristin, and it was on August 2nd. Good afternoon. I'm at a loss and need some help. In brief, I'm 38 years old, mother of 3. After giving birth to my third child, I started having adult acne and some serious gut issues. I tried going to my primary doctor with no luck. Then I went to 2 holistic doctors that made me feel better temporarily, but the cost of supplements started to get outrageous. I felt like every time I went, there was a new supplement I needed to take. At one point, I was taking 20 different supplements a day. Now to today, I feel like I can barely eat. Everything hurts my stomach. My acne is back on, and I have new hair growth in places that I should not as a woman. I went to my primary once again, and she ran blood saying everything was fine when clearly it is not. I am so frustrated and would love some answers. My dream would be on the best plan, but I know I cannot afford it. What do you recommend? Thank you. Okay, well, Kristin, I'm happy to help. I really am. So I'm going to give you 2 great ways to go about this. So it sounds like you have, which is very common, again, not normal, again, but very common, okay? This is something we see all the time. You have 3 children. Sometimes after pregnancy, the hormones don't always go back to a normal balanced ratio of estrogen to progesterone. It happens. It really does. So you may have higher levels of estrogen, or you might have lower levels of both estrogen and progesterone because of fatigue, stress. Again, it happens, right? You have 3 kids and we have life, right? Life all around us. So children are both a blessing, but also they can take a toll on our bodies. So let's look at it from a different perspective as well. The adult acne can certainly be hormonal imbalance, but also there can be gut issues. Sometimes when pregnant, you're given antibiotics. Sometimes there's different things along the way and our gut gets disturbed, whether it be medication, whether it be antibiotics, whether it be alcohol, whether it be stress, all sorts of different things. So the very best thing that you could do is the Big 5. The Big 5 labs. Now, it doesn't sound like you may be able to afford those. And again, I get it. I understand. I was there once myself, for sure. So I get it. So the next best thing is to run the starter kit. The starter kit is going to be the Candida metabolic and vitamins test and the minerals and metals test. Maybe you say, well, I'd rather see my hormones. That's okay. You can run the stress hormones, mood and metabolism test, would give you your thyroid and all your hormone levels. So, I mean, those three are my top three labs that I would run if I were you. Now you might say, well, I can't afford the labs. I can only afford the protocols. And I would say, again, I understand. So you very well may do best with a 21-day detox, and then the CBO protocol with the citricidal, while using the daily foundational protocol, finish up with a CBO finisher. Again, I can't give you a treatment protocol. I can't give you a cure. None of those things. That's not what we're doing in the podcast. But all I can say is, hey, based on these symptoms, here what might be the underlying root causes, and let's work from there. So, Kristin, hopefully that was helpful. And there you go. All right, Lillian's up next. I have high cortisol. After the challenge with, and she names the medication, which is dextromethorphan, but barely over the minimum range. But my symptoms of insomnia and anxiety and thirst, etc., match Cushing's. Do you have any podcasts on Cushing's? I do. So, Lillian, if you head on over to StephenCabral.com, I actually don't have internet at this moment, so I apologize. Usually I can search the page for you. But if you head on over to StephenCabral.com/podcast and you type in Cushing's, you will find some house call answers, Q&As on Cushing's. Cushing's, for anybody that doesn't know, are elevated total levels of cortisol for the day or elevated levels of cortisol throughout the day, sometimes both. We've seen much of that in the practice. Do keep in mind that there is a trigger causing most likely the high levels of cortisol. Now, it can be obviously sympathetic nervous system stress, it could be heavy metals, it could be pain, it could be any stressor on the body causing that higher level of what actually happens is that your hypothalamus is telling your pituitary gland to tell your adrenals, the adrenal cortex in particular, to keep producing more cortisol. There's supposed to be what's called a positive and negative feedback loop. And once inside of your bloodstream, you have high enough levels of cortisol, then your brain is actually supposed to get that feedback to say, hey, now stop producing the adrenocorticotropin hormone, an adrenocorticotropin releasing hormone that actually helps to produce the cortisol. You don't need to know all that, but just know that's how the body works. And so then your hypothalamus doesn't tell your pituitary gland to secrete those hormones, and so you don't. And so you start producing cortisol. Now, the problem is, it's very rare, but there can actually, it doesn't sound like it's you because you're just over normal. You're just over normal, which just sounds like you're in the alarm stage of stress, right? Of HPA axis dysfunction. So, but sometimes people could actually have a tumor on the pituitary gland. It's possible. It's very rare, right? Very rare, but it's always possible. So I have to just mention it, although we are not giving medical advice on the podcast. But for the most part, what we do is we follow the de-stress protocol. So I really would love you to read The Rain Barrel Effect, begin potentially using things like, again, I'm not treating Cushing's, just want to say that. We're working on stress. Begin using things like the Daily Foundational Protocol. We begin using the Ultimate Deep Sleep Protocol at night because we need to rewire that circadian rhythm. So we want to use the full spectrum magnesium. We want to use the Adrenal Soothe, probably 1 at breakfast, 1 at lunch, and 2 at dinner. We want to use the liquid melatonin before bed, the sleep help support, and the magnesium citrate as well before bed. And the reason is that we're calming the central nervous system. So, Lillian, that's at least a place to start. And of course, you can get more specific recommendations by running a lab, such as the stress hormones mood and metabolism test at equilibriumnutrition.com, which comes with a coaching plan. All right, Jennifer's up next. I'm not sure if this is the right spot to share our story. Here it goes. My 45-year-old husband has been dealing with chronic pain, and it began 12 years ago. Oh, I already answered this last week. Oh, okay. Let's make sure that we delete that. So, Jennifer, your question was answered just a week or so ago. All right. Next question is from Laura. Hi, Dr. Brawl. Hope you're having a great day. I listened to your podcast on celery juice a couple times, and I have a few questions. I'm a daily celery juice drinker. 1 liter, 32 ounces. Half an hour later, 1 liter of lemon ginger water. But I've recently found out all the soaking, washing, prepping, and juicing celery is causing me some anxiety because it takes up a lot of time. Not to mention cleaning the juicer afterwards. And because I also cannot buy organic celery, it being so expensive here, I think I want to start juicing cucumbers instead. Could you tell us if cucumbers are anywhere close to celery in terms of healing compounds? Or is hydration the only benefit? Do they also need to be organic? They're not on the Dirty 12 list. I don't peel them, just soak them in sodium bicarb. Is that good for soaking produce? I only ever heard you mention apple cider vinegar for that purpose, but I always use sodium bicarb. So basically, you think we can get the same benefits with juicing cucumbers as with celery. Medical Medium says it's the next best thing if you cannot stand celery, which I have no trouble with, but do celery even if you cannot get organic because the benefits outweigh the negative sides of pesticides. Would you agree? Thanks for all you do. All right, that was a lot, Lara, but I'm happy to help. So I've done a whole podcast on celery juicing, so I'm not going to go through my thoughts on that today. You're welcome to check it out. I certainly don't think anybody needs to, nor should they be drinking a liter of celery juice per day. No, I mean, I really don't believe that. 8 to 16 ounces, I have no problem with that. No issues at all. And I would think that it is actually kind of hydrating and cleansing for the body. No problem with that. 32 ounces a day ongoing, not a fan of that. You want to do that for 4 to 6 weeks, fantastic. You can start to cut back a little bit as well. So lemon ginger water, well, all day. That's totally fine. That's fantastic. You can even add a little bit of manuka or raw wildflower honey to that too. Not enough to spike the blood sugar, but a little bit if you'd like. Totally up to you. You don't have to do that. I'm just adding that in. Okay, so let's talk about the wash first. Apple cider vinegar works great because of its cleaning and acidic-based components, which means it can clean your table, it can clean your counters, it can clean your food. You just want to take a scrub brush to the outside of that cucumber and a little apple cider vinegar soak in water, and you'll be good to go. Can sodium bicarb work? It can, because it's on the opposite side of the spectrum. Sodium bicarb being very alkaline, which also kills bacteria as well, and apple cider vinegar being on the lower, the acidic side. I prefer to go on the lower acidic side. I just know it's a better cleaning agent. That's the truth. So it's also super easy. I mean, you literally put it in a bowl with a couple tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. But again, am I have a problem with sodium bicarb? No, I really don't. Scrub the outside, and you'll be good to go with those cucumbers. Celery is a different story. Softer fruit, it's going to absorb right in. But celery is not cucumbers, and cucumbers are not celery. I know that you know that, but I'm just stating it. Celery is going to be a little bit more in the salt-based area, again, healthy sodium. And the cucumber is going to be a little higher in the potassium-based benefits. So people are going to actually benefit differently from different veggies like that. So for example, if someone is more parasympathetic nervous system dominant, I'm starting to get in the weeds here, but bear with me for one moment. If someone's more parasympathetic nervous system dominant, and for a long time they've been stressed, producing higher levels of stress hormones like mineralocorticoids, which is called aldosterone, and the body held on to sodium for so long, and then it's become depleted of sodium. And if they take in a lot of, let's say, cucumbers or coconut water or a lot of lemons and limes that are high in potassium, or let's say blackstrap molasses, they're actually going to feel more brain fog. And the reason is that you're actually shunting or stopping a little bit more of that sympathetic nervous system and keeping them in a deeper parasympathetic. So if you feel any of those from drinking celery juice or from doing coconut water, now you know why that might be. And so you would actually benefit from a little bit more sea salt. So you can absolutely do lime in water or cucumber in water. You just might want to add some sea salt. That's all, some reddened sea salt. Or Himalayan sea salt, Celtic sea salt, name your favorite sea salt. So that's that. So they're not the same, but cucumber is great for hydration. It is high in potassium. Again, I don't think that you need a liter of juice a day. I just don't. Can you? Yes, you absolutely can. Do you? No, I don't think that you need that, but you are welcome to. That was a lot, but Lara, hopefully that gave you your answer. It looks like Lara's up again. Hi, Dark Brawl. This time I'm writing on behalf of my friends. Their 5-year-old daughter has a rare genetic disease called Ataxia, Telangi. I can't pronounce that. Ataxia. Have you heard of this before? Is there anything that they could do to help their little girl have the best life they can, considering her condition? Is there anything that can be done when it comes to these genetic diseases? Is healing nutrition something they could do? Are there foods she shouldn't consume? Any supplements? Her mother doesn't trust alternative medicine, but I hope I can help her father to have some information on what to do. Thank you. These podcasts are absolutely amazing. Have a lovely day with your loved ones, and happy healing to all your listeners. Lara, thank you for writing in. Okay, so let's answer Lara's question. So one thing to know with this particular, and I apologize, but I can't look things up online to go too in-depth with specific rare genetic diseases on the house calls, because it is always one straight shot. But what I can tell you is this. With this particular disease, obviously it being rare, it happening in childhood. For those people that aren't familiar with it, it does have to do with the nervous system. So it's essentially a nervous system-based disorder. It leads to uncoordinated movement, which is the ataxia part of it, and the life expectancy is not as high. Now, keep in mind, though, that there are certain factors that always affect inflammatory and even genetic-based issues, even if someone is predisposed. Like, this is a congenital-based issue that's there, but could it be exacerbated by heavy metals, poor food choices, gluten, dairy, food sensitivities in the diet? Yes, right? So, I mean, for sure, would I run gut-based testing on this person? Meaning, would I look at these labs? Would I look at a food sensitivity test? Yes. Would I look at a candida metabolic and vitamins test? Yes. Would I look at a stool and parasite test? Yes. Would I also look at a heavy metals test? The answer would be yes. All of these things could lead to it because, again, they're inflammatory-based factors. So the goal with a lot of these rare genetic issues is how do we basically not allow it to progress? That's a bigger question, and people can live quite a long time by not allowing these diseases of the body to progress. So that's what I would do. You really need to figure out what's going on inside the body, and then, of course, be able to move forward from there. All right, Laura has another question. Let's see what Laura's question is. Hi, Dr. Ball. Hope you and everyone around you well. I have a question regarding barley grass juice powder. Medical Medium says it should be an everyday heavy metal detox smoothie along with wild blueberries, spirulina, dulse, cilantro, because all together they are really good at taking metals out of the body. But it's essential. It's a juice powder, not just barley grass powder. What's your opinion on that? Why is barley grass juice powder so good? Could you please explain this in depth? Thank you so much, and have an amazing day, everyone. All right. Thank you, Laura. So this is not difficult to do. Barley grass powder, wheatgrass powder, spirulina, blue-green algae, cilantro. These are all things that we recommend. We think that they're great. And yes, they do help with chelating heavy metals out of the body. I'm going to give you the easy answer. We've already done the research for you. When you do a heavy metal detox, it's vitamin C, it is cilantro, it is our biofilm disruptor, and we help to take it in our cracked cell chlorella right out of the body. Now, here's the other thing. Our daily fruit and vegetable blend powder, 22 organic fruits, vegetables, and superfoods, already contains your gluten-free barley powder. It contains your spirulina. It contains all this great stuff that you can use on a daily basis. So it's actually not very difficult. I do that every day, and then I put wild blueberries in my smoothie. This is long before Medical Medium, and again, it's always been great for you. They've been talked about since Ayurvedic times, traditional Chinese medicine times. So it's not difficult to do. You can do 1 scoop of your daily fruit and vegetable blend every day. Again, I recommend the Daily Foundation Protocol Level 2 or Level 3. That's it. It's so easy. It gives you everything that you need. You don't need to think about it, and it's what most people are deficient in. Super easy. And then, of course, if you have heavy metals, well, do a heavy metal detox. First, do a functional medicine detox to open up liver pathways, and then do your heavy metal detox. And again, all of that can be found at equilibriumnutrition.com. But do keep in mind, these are not treatment recommendations. These are not cures. These are not diagnoses for any disease. Okay, Lisa's up next. Lisa says, hi, Dr. Ball. First off, I want to say I'm a huge fan of your podcast and really appreciate everything you teach us. I was wondering about the right amount of protein intake. I'm 5'2", I weigh about 108 pounds, and I weight train 2 to 3 times a week. Run once a week and do dance cardio 2 times a week. How much protein should I be consuming? I'm trying to build muscle through weight training and used to lift 4 to 5 times a week, but I've lessened the amount since being home because of quarantine. I want to build a bit of muscle or at least maintain, and I'm seeing all types of articles on the internet. What's the optimal amount of protein per pound should I be consuming? Thanks, Lisa. All right, Lisa, many podcasts on this. Check out stevencabral.com/podcasts, and you can even just type in how much protein should you consume. And you will find it. Let me give you the quick answer because it's going to differ depending on if you're an ectomorph, a mesomorph, or an endomorph. However, you're 5'2", you weigh 108 pounds. You sound like you may be a little bit more towards the Vata or ectomorph. So what we want to say is, and actually they're not the biggest consumers of protein, by the way, it's the Pitta, even though the ectomorph is the leanest. They need actually more carbs, but that's a different story for a different day. So, and you can check out all my Ayurvedic podcasts by simply going to stevencabral.com/podcast, scroll along all those little fun graphics at the top and find the one that says Ayurveda. So, okay, really simple. You can do 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. But let's make it even easier for you. Take your body weight and divide it by half. You weigh 108 pounds. Let's do the math on that. That's 54 grams of protein per day. For you, you're very active. So 54 would be the minimum. So I would say for you, let's keep it easy. 3 meals a day, 20 grams of protein at each meal. It's as simple as doing the daily nutritional support in the morning. By adding in some other good carbs, things like that, you'll get to 20. At lunch, 20 grams of carbs from your vegan-based source of hemp hearts or beans or legumes, or you add in fish, whatever you'd like. And then at dinner, choose again a vegan-based source or some pastured chicken or some wild fish or whatever you like, right? And so I would go with 60 grams for you. But again, I can't give you a protocol, especially of our podcast. But if you feel like you're really burning through that faster, you could certainly add more. And how much more? Well, just, again, if you're doing 3 meals a day, you're just going to add 5 more grams at each meal. Or, if you teeter towards weight loss, for you, I would probably do 4 a day. I would do shake, meal, So I do basically smoothie, lunch, smoothie, dinner. And then you could do 15 to 20 grams at each meal, so it's even easier to digest. And now you're up to what? 60 to 80 grams of protein per day. So I think that's a really nice spot for you. But again, time will tell, and you'll be able to see if you're building the muscle that you would like. So do keep in mind that ectomorphs, again, they need a little bit more carbohydrates, believe it or not. And keep in mind that muscles get fuller and work better when they do have some carbohydrates in the diet. I want to get one more question in. All right, this is from Lorena. Short question. I know eczema is caused by gut issues, but can it also be related to hormones? I've realized that my eczema is worse at certain times of my period cycle. Lorena, the answer is yes. There can be underlying gut issues, underlying food sensitivities. However, the body could be dealing with different changes in pH, digestibility, as well as inflammation during certain times of your cycle. When do I see it happen in my practice? Well, 2 specific times. During ovulation, that is one specific time during a female cycle that I see there could be a spike in eczema. The second time is right around days 21, 22 or so of a female cycle when we should have relative progesterone dominance, yet we have relative estrogen dominance. And there's typically then a little bit more inflammation and gut issues the last 5 days to maybe even 7 days of a woman's cycle. So if you see those things, there's 2 things you want to do. Well, of course, I would love you to run the Big 5 because then you get all the data. But if not, you can simply say, okay, I'm going to run my hormone panel, the stress hormones, mood and metabolism test over at Equilibrium Nutrition. And I'm going to run that when my symptoms are worse. Maybe it's during ovulation. Maybe it's during the luteal phase, the latter half of the luteal phase. Great. But if you can, run that test along with the Candida metabolic and vitamins test. So Lorena, that's what I would do. Hopefully that was helpful, and at least it is a good place, I believe, to get started. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into another Cabral HouseCall. I appreciate your support. I truly do. I read every single one of the reviews on iTunes. If you have not reviewed the Cabral concept on iTunes, I would love for you to do that. It will take you 10 seconds. Just click on write a review. And again, I really do appreciate that. It helps to the 5-star reviews help to push the message forward, reach more people, and of course, I love being able to read those. So thank you so much. Again, appreciate the support, and of course, if these answers were helpful, please do feel free to share them with anyone you believe they could serve. And don't forget to tune back in tomorrow for our Mindset and Motivation Monday, which is the very best way to start our week off right. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Steven Cabral. And that's Steven with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.